Welcome everyone to the webinar on Boost Productivity with CXE. This is one of our ongoing marketing webinars. This one's a little different. Rather than delve into one specific subject, we're going to sort of do a general overview of the CXE product, just so everyone can be aware of the various areas where the product can be used within your enterprise. So let's start by taking a look at who we are. We've been around quite a while. This product is about 30 years in the making, and as a result it has quite a bit in the way of functionality. So a webinar like this will be short and just highlight some of the features that you should be aware of in the product. As we look at developing our products, there's a couple of things we need to keep aware of. Unified communications within an enterprise actually has a couple of different sub areas that you need to make sure you cover. Certainly individuals, that's one of the biggest challenges today with mobility. And then the business itself, corporate communications, that's what the voicemail and call processing pieces have been around for the longest. But also today there's the individual team work groups, the collaborative aspect. And all three of those need to be something we consider as we develop this product. And at the same time, we also need to look at the current needs of a customer. A lot of our customers are migrating from a legacy infrastructure, so their primary concerns at that time are making sure it does the same functionality that their old system does. And so that's an area we have to focus on considerably. But at the same time, we don't want to lock anyone in to something, so we have to be looking into the future for where communications are going to make sure that the system that you buy today can move forward with you. And even one step further out than that, we need to look at the key trends in unified communications. What's going on in the market? What type of things do we have to be keeping an eye on to make sure that your product will give you the functionality you need going forward? Things like unified messaging and a personal assistant, all of that functionality. So those are the categories we look at as we look at building the CXE product. Now we're very lucky. CXE's been around a while, and it was actually built from the very earliest days by a group of people who were IT-centric. And what that means is we have a true three-tier application model, and that's given us tremendous advantages in the market. So we have a core engine, and sitting on top of that, we have application modules, and underneath that, the set of interface modules that allow us to connect to those other systems in the enterprise. And this architecture has allowed us to be first in the market continually over the years with the newer types of solutions, but also it's kept this platform architecture in place for 30 years, which makes it by far the most robust platform out there. If you look at interoperability, certainly in the early days, interoperability was simple, the voicemail connected to the phone system. But in the world of unified communications, it's much more complex than that. So now what we look at doing is making sure that our product lets us walk into the enterprise and connect to whatever is currently in use in the enterprise, but also to make sure the customer is comfortable that moving forward, as they change out other pieces of their enterprise, they can bring our solutions forward. So in the area of integrations to PBXs, we're the undisputed leader. In terms of email, there's really nothing out in the market with which we can't connect for the various applications we bring out. We're connecting to presence, we're connecting to calendars, and if you start looking at creating custom solutions, we also are extremely flexible in using enterprise data, and we're going to look at that a little in some of these. We also have a partnership with OpenText WriteFax. That's how we provide our fax services. And at the same time, we have a very strong focus and a development relationship with the people who are making the popular mobile devices today. All of this goes into the platform. Unified communications truly involves being able to talk to everything in the enterprise. We'll start by looking at sort of the traditional applications available on CXE. A lot of people start by wanting to replace their legacy voicemail call processing system, and we're certainly very strong in that market. Gartner actually will tell you that we're the leaders in that market because this is the platform that was sold up to 30 years ago. We've just, because of the way we started with an open platform, we've been able to build this platform and bring it forward, continually adding, never taking out features, and never having to sunset a product for a hardware or an operating system change. So if you look at our product today, it's easiest just to think of this product as having all of the legacy voicemail features. Whatever you have in your system today, I'm pretty sure you're going to find it's in our system. So moving over will be a fairly painless process in terms of the functionality you're using today will be there. And we have a wonderful set of alternate telephone user interfaces, meaning we can emulate most of the legacy systems, which you probably have, in terms of when the user moves over, they'll be able to use the same DTMF key presses to do all the messaging functions. And that gives us just a great advantage in terms of moving from the older system to the newer system without any business disruption. And that's a strong concern for enterprises. On the call processing or menuing side, the story's the same. We've been doing this for many, many years, and as a result, we have more features in our menus than anyone else does. Anything you're doing in the way of menus today, you can rest assured we do that in our product. Plus, we can speech enable the entire process. We have a speech recognition engine that runs on the system, and that engine will actually allow us to take those legacy press a key for function type of approaches and turn that into speak. And that includes a full speech rec directory. So full speech rec automated attendant, just prompting the caller to say the name of the person or department they're trying to reach. Along the way, we went from being a fairly small system, a 4-port voicemail system, primarily, to now one of the largest enterprise systems available. And in doing that, there was additional development required, not to add new features to the system, but to talk about some of the concerns of an enterprise in the areas of resiliency and high availability. So you'll find our architecture scales from a 4-port system to a 750-port system, and basically does that in full redundancy mode. And we can talk offline with anyone who has an interest, but any way you're looking to deploy the product, including full geo-redundancy in multiple data centers, we have the capability to match our architecture to your architecture to deliver exactly what you're looking for. So from the voice point of view, fairly straightforward. We don't spend a lot of time adding new voicemail features to the system. That feature set's pretty well developed. Where we spend a lot of our time, of course, is looking at mobility. Mobility is one of the biggest challenges people face today in an enterprise, both the functional aspect, but also the secure aspect. The security of the mobility, the support, that's a major challenge. And the device market is moving so quickly that keeping on top of that, it's a good part of our research budget to stay on top of mobility. So what we've come up with is a package for mobile users that ties together the various functions in our product. Now, our product's a little different than the competition's product because everything we do in this one application. You won't ever see us add another server to do mobility or add another server to do speech rec. This is a matter of turning on licenses on our system. We can do multiple servers for scalability, but we never have to do them for functionality. And what that means is all of our integrations, all of our functionality is tied into one application. Makes it much easier to deploy, support, and most importantly, from a user point of view, makes it very easy to use. And that's a critical piece because so many times you buy a unified communication solution and look at it a year later to realize you really weren't very successful in getting your users to take advantage of it. And we're going to talk about a couple of things here that will show you how I think we've managed to work around that. But the Atom license is for mobile users. It gives them unified messaging, a speech recognition interface, a find me, follow me application, supports their mobile devices. All those things that are important for a mobile user are wrapped up into one low-cost license. Now, you can license these components separately, but Atom is a very, very good option for those people who want the full functionality of the product and are primarily mobile workers. So what does Atom do? It does a lot of things. One of the great things about our product is we rely on what's called context. And context is basically using other information in the system to make our application work better without requiring the user to do anything. Users are not great about, you give them really good tools, but it takes a little bit of work to use them, and they'll tend to ignore them. With our tools, if you program correctly, they're going to work on their own. And one of them is this feature. And basically what we'll do is we'll link their mailbox to their calendar. And what that allows us to do is a number of things. Probably one of the most requested is we can actually route incoming calls that come through our system based on the user's calendar or instant messaging presence. We can read the link server, we can read the Exchange, Office 365, or Google Calendar, and based on the current status of the user, we can not only route the calls to the correct devices or device list, which might be straight to voicemail or might be to a mobile device, but we can also build greetings on the fly. The system can actually build the greeting, telling the caller what the status is of that user. So much better than just, hi, this is Neil, leave me a message at the tone. The system can actually say, Neil Butler's in a meeting and will return at 4 p.m. So the ability to use context means once that's programmed, it happens on its own. The user doesn't have to constantly change their greeting, change their call settings. The system knows how to do that. So we currently read, as I said, Exchange, Outlook, Gmail, and Link is currently the only IM system that we read. We're probably going to expand all these as we go forward, but this does tend to cover an awful large part of the market. The next piece of context we use is a very important piece. It turns out something that people find great use of. And this starts by the fact that while Link claims to be a presence engine, it's really more of a are you at your desk or not engine. If you're not at your desk, it doesn't really know very much about where you are. And where you are definitely is important in terms of routing calls. So what our mobile application does, we have a native mobile application for Apple and Android. If you download our mobile application as a user, you can create locations. You can define physical locations that the system will recognize. And in this case on the screen, you're saying, you can see I built an office location. And I turned on my mobile app, I went to build location, I said office, and then it went out and it read the location from the cell towers. It actually did a triangulation and said, I know where you are now, you're here based on this, it actually brings back latitude and longitude coordinates, and it tells the system where you are. Now, rules can be built that check that location. We don't track a user's location. We don't know where they are minute to minute. But when a call comes in and the rule says, I should send the call first to his desk phone, but he has an office location, it will actually ping the mobile device and say, is this device in the office? And if the answer is no, then it'll skip that device and it'll move on to the next device, probably your mobile phone. So you also can go and build other locations. I actually have 3 locations. I have built office, and I have built home, because I work from home quite a bit. And then I have a 3rd location by default, which is other. So my call routing is very simple. It knows where to send calls based literally on where I am physically. And once again, once this is installed, the user doesn't have to do anything. Their calls simply follow them around just basically during the day. The mobile client does a lot of other things as well. It's a very robust mobile client, and we have a whole series of webinars on different features, and there's one dedicated just to the mobile client. You might keep your eye open for an email for that, because there's a lot of things this client does that are truly unique. Now, it does the normal things you expect. It gives you access to your voicemail messages. It makes calls. It does all of those kind of things. But it does something else that's turned out to be very popular, and that is it actually does call screening when you're out on your mobile phone. So when the system says, I'm going to send a call to that person's mobile phone, the first thing that will happen is they'll get a pop-up on their phone saying, there's an incoming call for you, and here's who it's from. If there's somebody in your contacts or in the system itself, it'll actually identify the caller by name and company name. And now you have information. Is this call more or less important than what I'm currently doing? This is all happening on the data channel. So the phone is still on hold on Call Express on a port, and we're actually communicating with the user out through a mobile app. And I can take that call and it'll transfer the call to my mobile phone. I can reject it, it'll send it straight to voicemail. If I hit the options button, it will let me do various other features, and this is part of the power of it, I think, is I can record an acknowledgement message. So maybe I get this pop-up as I'm sitting in the parking lot just getting ready to walk into work, and I can basically hit a button and say, yeah, listen, John, I've just driven into work. Give me 5 minutes to get at my desk, and I'll call you back. So I can set a great callback expectation for the caller. I might be walking down the hall when the call comes in, and I can transfer that call from my mobile to my desk phone. So when I walk into my office, I can take it there more comfortably on my desk phone. I might realize who that is, and I don't have time, but I could transfer it to someone else on my system, so they could be useful to whoever the caller was, or I could actually accept the call, and I could also accept and record the call. One of the great tools here is for people who are in meetings, because that choice is silent acknowledge. I can look down, see who it is, and hit one of those buttons. Like if I hit we'll call in 15 minutes, the caller will hear, Neil Butler is unable to take your call, but we'll call you back in 15 minutes. And I did this all silently. So now you can actually triage and look for important calls while you're in a meeting. So a very powerful tool is the mobile client. Unified messaging, certainly one of our areas of expertise. Once again, if you go out and read the various system reports, analyst reports, they'll identify us as the leader in unified messaging. We've been doing it the longest, and we have the most flexibility. That's really the key to unified messaging, is be able to support the most devices, be able to support the most email stores, multiple email stores in different domains, be able to determine the storage location for messages. Some people absolutely refuse to put their voicemail into their email message store for confidentiality and compliance reasons, and we're fine with that. We have other options. While other people want the messages in there for the full featured kind of functionality of unified messaging on a single client, we can do that as well. So on a per user basis, you can actually define the client message store. And then we have the full range of voicemail to text and text to speech and all the other things for unified messaging that make it work. We kind of go back and talk about Atom again. Probably the biggest productivity boost you can give to people is the ability to use the speech recognition interface. No more DTMF keys, you simply talk to the application. Now, this is not a version 1 product. This product's been out almost 15 years now. This is by far the most versatile and intuitive user interface that's out there. And I'm happy to get on a call and defend that statement with anybody that wants to. But it has to do with the fact we've had 15 years to get it right. Lots and lots of customer feedback, lots of chances to tune it and improve it. So, as an example, when I climb in my car in the morning, first thing I do is hit my Bluetooth speaker button. The system says, "Good morning, Neil Butler. What would you like to do?" And I can say, "What are my appointments for today?" And it will read my calendar. In my case, that's an Exchange calendar. I can say, "Get new messages," and it'll get new email, voice, or fax messages. It'll tell me about the fax messages, allow me to forward them to a fax machine. It'll play my voice messages, and it'll read my email messages using text-to-speech. And not only can I listen to those messages, but I can reply to them. I can reply to an email message from an outside caller, and they'll get an email message back with a WAV file attachment of my reply. So we are very tightly integrated with Atom into the other things in your enterprise that are your primary productivity tools. And the speech recognition interface brings that right to the forefront. So if you look at those kind of core purpose-built modules, besides that, we run across customers all the time that despite the fact that we've been in business this long, they actually ask us for things we haven't heard of. And we certainly like to oblige that. So what we have is a set of toolkits. And the toolkits are extremely powerful. And they let us build custom solutions. So if you look as an example, one of the custom solutions we built a few years ago, and we then, by the way, packaged this as a standard application you can buy now, but we built an outbound call notification program where based on a text file, the system can make outgoing calls and give information to the people that answer the calls. If you think of this, probably the easiest thing to understand it is as a medical clinic appointment verification. You can extract all your appointments for the next day into a text file, and the system will actually come off hook, call those numbers, and tell those people, "Hello, this is Dr. Thompson's office. We're verifying you have an appointment with Dr. Thompson tomorrow at 2 o'clock. If you plan to attend, press 1, or to talk to somebody reschedule, press 2. That kind of functionality, great productivity enhancer, and it also makes it very easy to stay in touch with people through outgoing phone calls. A lot of the applications we write with our tools fall under the traditional IVR, interactive voice response type, information access. And these are just some examples of the ones we've done in the last couple of years. But this is a very powerful tool in terms of going beyond just traditional IVR. This can do things like monitor mailboxes, and when a message has been in a mailbox for a certain amount of time, if this is a key sensitive mailbox, it can escalate that and move it to another mailbox or send out an email to someone. There's so many business processes having to do with communications that we can enhance that we generally spend a few minutes in any presentation with a prospective customer, just letting them know what these toolkits can do. And I would say right now we're somewhere around 1 out of 3 enterprise customers has us write some kind of custom tool. Now, I talked back in the beginning about, there's personal applications, there's enterprise applications, and then there's these work groups, the kind of the collaboration piece that's so important today. It used to be everyone working on a project worked in the same building, and you all went down the hall to the conference room and battled it out. But that's just not the way business is done anymore. Now things are very much distributed around. And in the collaboration area, one of the things that we found that was kind of not very well supported were work groups. So we have PBXs that'll do great hunt groups and distribute incoming calls, among a group of people. Very, very simple, very inexpensive, and most people have hunt groups in their organization. And at the other end of the scales, for the larger true contact centers, where I have 50, 100 people doing the same type of job, and I want to funnel those calls in, and I'm really focused on productivity. I want to know how many seconds those calls hold and what's the average connect time. Well, there's great ACD applications out there for that. And we obviously don't provide a hunt group. That's the PBX's job. We don't actually do a contact center in the traditional center as well. But what we do is we kind of address that middle ground. In most enterprises, there'll be, besides the people, that go into the contact centers, there'll be these informal work groups. And these informal work groups, you're probably not going to buy contact center licenses for them because they're very expensive. A hunt group is probably what you end up using, but it's not really getting the job done very well. So we fill that middle space with TeamQ. TeamQ is an application, once again, not a server, just an application you turn on our system, that's designed to handle incoming calls to informal next-gen work groups. Now, typically those work groups are small, and also typically they have a disparate skill set. They're not all doing exactly the same thing. And how you handle those calls is sometimes a challenge. Now, what I found, an easy way to talk about this is to think of the IT help desk, because almost everyone has one, has interfaced with one, and understand what those challenges are. So in an IT help desk, you maybe have 10 or 15 people, and they all have a slightly different skill set. So what happens now is probably those calls come into a hunt group. Somebody answers, yeah, what can I do for you? I need help with my Wi-Fi connection. And they say, okay, hold on a second. And they put that call on hold because that's not what they do. And they holler out among the cubicles, line 6, somebody's looking for help with Wi-Fi. And then eventually somebody gets to that call. And it's just not very productive, not very professional. So what we can do is funnel those calls in and basically handle those calls much more effectively. And here's how we do it. Once again, that TeamQ box is just CX sitting on your network, connected to your PBX, any PBX, by the way. We don't care what the PBX is. And there's no CTI or computer telephony integration link required. Those very, very expensive links that most people use, we have found a way to work without them. So the agents are going to run our application. They're going to be logged onto your network, and basically they're going to handle calls. And here's how it'll work. Somebody will call in to the system, and we'll run a script. And the script will say, welcome to the help desk. For help with Windows, press 1. For help with Office applications, press 2. For help with your internet connection, press 3. Then the caller will press 1, 2, or 3. And then maybe it'll prompt for their identity. Please enter your employee number. And they'll put their employee number in. And now it'll go out and it'll look at the queue, and it has historics running, so it knows average time to answer and where that person is in the queue, so it'll actually tell them. You are the third caller in queue. The average time to answer right now is 1 minute and 30 seconds. Press 1 to stay in the queue, 2 to leave a message, or 3 to go in the callback queue. And now that user has some choice over how they're going to be handled by this group. So they press 1 to stay in the queue, and now they're in the queue. And the first thing we do when they decide to stay in the queue is we put an entry up on the agent screen. And you can see a copy of the agent screen there. And now the agents, they can look at that screen, and they can see what's available, what calls to take. They not only take calls, though. If you notice, Tom G is on a call, that top call, but he also has a call on hold, a couple of calls down. Probably that first caller called in. Tom said, reset your system and call me back. Tom got on another call. That person reset it and came back in. And now because of the identity of the caller, Tom actually knows that's somebody they need to talk to. So while they're on the new call, they connect that incoming call, they hit hold, and that call is now on held for them. So an agent can not only take a call, they can ask a call to hold for them, they can send a call to voicemail, they can transfer a call to another queue or agent, and this queue also has all the overflows, timed overflows, announcements, etc. So the goal here is to look for small groups, disparate skill sets, and this is just a very, very powerful way to handle those, and it's very inexpensive because this is not any hardware. This is just some software licenses on the CXE system. So if we look at productivity from our point of view, we definitely start with the traditional applications, and everyone's comfortable with those, and we can talk about how we do those better than everyone else all day long, and we do have those conversations. But beyond that, you need to keep in mind this platform you buy today needs to take you forward into the future. So this will be a platform that provides your mobility functionality, your work group functionality, your business process, collaboration. So you want to take a look at all of these pieces, even if you're not going to implement them today, to understand, you don't want to lock yourself into a system that today is 5% cheaper and just does voicemail, and in a year when you have a mobility initiative, you realize that you can't use that system anymore. So by all means, look at these various pieces, have the conversations, and then you pick the one that best meets your needs. For those of you that have questions, you can always get in touch with us at info@avst.com. I would like to thank you for being in this presentation. Keep an eye on your email. You'll find more presentations coming. Thank you.